A system is a collection of components, processes, technology, people that work together to achieve a common result. That's how systems work. While the management of electronically stored information across an entire lawsuit is also, or should be, a systematic process. Well, for a system to work, there are rules that make all the pieces fit together, just like building a safe house. But as we move into the field of electronic discovery, rule-based design is an unfamiliar concept. For many lawyers, the best answer has always been, well, it depends. But that answer is not good enough in the 21st century. In order to assure ourselves that electronic information is reliable as evidence, we must know that, well, that the systems have been built safely and soundly, just like a good house. So what are the rules that apply to how we build the systems for managing electronic information as evidence? To answer that question, I'd like to take you to a map and use that map to just give you a quick survey of all of the rules that go into making a good process, much like the rules that go into making a good house. So let's go to the map. You know, lawyers are used to thinking of the legal rules, but when we actually look at those legal rules and open up the map, we see that there's more than just a conundrum. There's actually structure. There's rules of the professional lawyer that apply. Rules such as the ABA Model Rules of Professional Conduct, the Civil Discovery Standards, and the Manual for Complex Litigation. All of these help define the standard of care that a lawyer needs to exercise to do his job. But there's other rules that apply. At the court level, there are rules of civil procedure, the federal rules of evidence, and the authorship of opinions by the courts that interpret both sets of rules. This is where the body of much of the law and the legal rules for electronic discovery is being found and housed. Hundreds, now thousands of decisions by federal and state courts. There's also rules of criminal procedure, federal sentencing guidelines that apply, and they're important to keep in mind as we think about building electronic discovery. Well, because companies sometimes face criminal investigations, sometimes they need to prosecute criminal investigations, and often it's the same judges that hear both civil and criminal cases that are trying to apply the rules to determine if they can trust the digital information as evidence. Like any other field, of course, the law is no different. There are other sources of information that help define best practices. The agency regulations are sometimes, in fact, influential on corporate systems as mandatory rules. But there are best practice sources like the Electronic Discovery Reference Model and the Sedona Conference publications. Now, that's a large number of legal requirements. But what about the technology side of the house? At the technology level, well, those people that are involved with IT are not surprised, but lawyers are amazed at the number of rules that govern what constitutes a good system for creating and managing reliable electronic information. At the global level, there's international standards that address IT services, information security, and records management. At the national level, there are standards on networks, manufacturing, and structural design. And all of these must work together for there to be a good house, a good infrastructure, and reliable information. Even for specific kinds of applications, such as electronic mail, well, look, there's 5 different protocols that apply that make it possible for systems to interconnect. And then there are other rules that even apply at the systems level, the rules of the Department of Defense and the National Archive Records Administration on how to create electronic records. Well, those also have an impact. And there are best practices for technology as well. So when we take a look at all of the rules for e-discovery, the legal rules and the technology rules, something becomes very clear. To do it correctly, to play this game well, you have to know all of the rules and build systems that work. And if you don't, all of these rules become invaluable benchmarks against which opposing counsel and adverse parties can measure your performance and determine whether or not, in fact, your digital information can be trusted for the truth. And that's the rules of the game.